was our second Facebook Live class. We did a survey for patients a few weeks ago, and we asked, what do you want to know more about? And people said sleep, they said hormones, they said, how do I feel better? How can I be more, have more vitality? And then they also said, how can I help with stress? So tonight, stress class. If you are not controlling stress, it's controlling you. So we're all gonna have it. Stress itself, there's stress from every different angle these days. If you go back 100 years, you know, you think of life, we had to get up, you had to eat, you had to do all these different things. But if something was stressful, it happened in a one time or a 2 times a day, a week. Now we can't get away from it. From work to driving, there's traffic to, you know, love my kids, but they're still stressful. From work, and we've got our cell phones. Every day the cell phones are ringing, they're clanging, they're texting. Now if you don't have your cell phone, you got your cell watch, your Apple Watch. Literally, we cannot get away from the stress. By the way, if you have any questions about anything, please just text that on here, reply. We're going live right now, so we're here for you. And also, if you missed us or want to share it, this is also going to be set up on our website on drfowlerspeaks.com. So what is stress? Let's talk about that. So stress, whoa, did you see that tiger there? Stress itself, it's a scary tiger. Stress itself is our body's reaction, I'm going to get technical here for a second, but to a potential stimulus. So if we get hit or if we get a cut, that's a problem. That's not stress yet. Stress is the perceived stress of that potential problem. So if we see this tiger coming, if I see that thing coming after me, what's going to happen? My body is going to send signals from my brain to fire off stress hormones into my body. Those come from the adrenal glands, which are right above our kidneys. And so these adrenal glands, they're going to fire cortisol within the body. I'm going to go into the devastating effects of this long term in just a minute. But as it fires off this cortisol, what happens to your body itself? This is super important to understand. When you get this, you're going to help yourself understand stress for a long period of time. I've got to run from this tiger. So what do I want? I want blood to my muscles. I want to have my heart pumping. I want a high blood pressure. I want to be able to go for a long time. I want vasodilation, so I've got oxygen going all throughout my body. Now let's talk about digestion. If I just ate a big meal, do I need that meal right now to run away from this tiger? Because stress, our body's designed for stress of like 5, maybe 10-minute increments at most. So every time, boom, stress happens, this is the phase that our body goes through. Whether it actually happens, like we see that tiger, or we're thinking about that tiger, or we're thinking about the stress of the day and things like that, the body has a very similar physiologic change. Very similar change within the body and in the anatomy. So what else happens? Immunity. So the body is going to actually decrease the immune system. Because if you're being chased by a tiger, if you're going to, you know, die, or if you're going to get eaten, it doesn't really care about fighting that cold anymore. It doesn't care about that infection or things like that. It is only worried about long term. It's actually going to thicken your blood. Pretty crazy, but they've shown studies that it thickens your blood, because what that's going to happen is if you get cut, it's going to clot more. So it's literally changing all of these things. So decreasing digestion, decreasing how the stomach works, decreasing immunity, but making everything else work there. So long term, if you're stressed every day, what is that going to do to digestion? It's not going to be good. It also, by the way, as this cortisol pushes through your body, it has all of the glycogen, which is stored in our muscles and our liver, things like that, release the sugar into our bloodstream. So say all day long you're getting hit with stress, ding, 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 your boss, your work, your emails, all of these things just incessantly, every single time there's blood sugar dropped into your body. So then where do we get it? The cortical obesity or extra weight starts to go on as things are stressful in the waist. That's all from this cortisol being hit all the time. Also, had a patient in yesterday. We were talking about this guy's pretty good shape. He's in his mid-50s. He's worked hard all his life. He had a really stressful job, but things really changed about 8 years ago, where he was a stressful CEO, everything going on, but he actually went to the doctors. He was having this pain in his chest. And what happened after that, they went to the ER and they said, we can't even help you. He had a full 100% clog of his left anterior descending. So the artery in the back of his heart. And so with that, that's called the widowmaker. They said, we can't even help you here. They had to care flight him to another hospital, and they checked him out. They did the whole surgery. They fixed things up. They said, everything else looks great. Guess what that's caused from? Stress. So that's what they're finding, that heart disease long-term, now increases in diabetes, increases in cancer, all these things long-term come from a stressful lifestyle. Now, when you think about stress, there's a lot of small words on the slide. You don't have to worry about those as much. But think of it like this. When you have a symptom, when you finally feel the symptom, that's like the tip of this iceberg. When the stress and the things that have built up over time are the ones that come all the way down that have been sitting there. So our body is going to put up with a lot of stuff. So even if you say, I feel okay, I'm stressed, but I'm doing all right, I'm coping, I'm handling this, that underneath your body has amazing coping mechanisms, and it's not for another 5 years, 10 years, things like that, that you finally start to see these different changes. I'm going to grab something here real quick. Sweet. So what are the things that happen with stress? So it literally disrupts all of our bodily functions, because your body's in one of two different categories. I'm going to talk about stress and what it does for about 5 more minutes, and then actually get into the tips for you. But it does one or two things. You're either in chill, called rest and digest, or build, or you're in the stress breakdown. You're never in both places at once. Your body has this on-off switch. So it's either chilling, it's good, it's building up, it's restoring, it's regenerative, it's healthy, it's vitalistic, or it's breaking down and it's worried about the worst case scenario. So ease or dis-ease. So with that, what are the things? So it literally disrupts all the bodily functions. It increases your risk of numerous health problems. Why? Because it is no longer worrying about the long-term effects. So if you had a bank account with certain money in it, and you said, I'm not going to worry anymore about the future, and you just decided to go on a spending spree, fun in the short term, you got what you wanted, but long-term, what's going to happen? You're going to go bankrupt. Same thing with stress. It's just spending all that money short-term. Long-term, things aren't good. So heart problems, sleep problems, digestive problems, obesity and diabetes, memory impairment. They've actually done studies from locus coeruleus, or these different parts of the hippocampus in the brain that have to do with emotions. And literally when you're in a stress mode, it turns off into like road rage type thinking. No more problem solving, not creativity, not love and the limbic system and things about create relationships. It turns all that off. And it goes completely into emotional, reactional. Think trying to fight for the toy on Christmas. You see those videos of moms fighting over the newest toy or something like that early in the morning, or the day after Thanksgiving, right? Black Friday. So with that, your brain shuts off. So now we're going to talk about cancer, we talk about depression. The brain and the body stop functioning and working like they should, which leads to long-term disease or health. So when we're talking about these different things, health itself, there's a triune or a triangle of health. And so there's 3 different points to it, which are the main categories. And number 1 that we're talking about today is going to be your thoughts. So what you put in your brain, what you think about all day is what you're going to become. And for some people, that is a very strong or very serious thought process. From there, there's chemical. And so it's fun. Yes, Tracy's struggle is real. And so from chemical, what we put in our bodies, what's around us, what the air we're breathing, the water, the quality, different things like that. Also, what type of food are we eating? Is it processed? Does it come out of a box? Or does it come from the earth? So, and what medications we're consistently putting in our body, that's actually a different kind of stress. And then trauma, of course, like car accidents, whiplashes. What we work with a lot, or so much with, is micro trauma. So where the body is like this. And so as the body is forward, that adds these micro traumas, that decreases the flow of the nervous system, that increases scar tissue, increases that nerve firing. So all pain, by the way, what's also called in science nociception, when the body is not working right, that fires these stress pathways. So if you got something that's bothering you, if you've got bad posture and it's firing bad signals all the time to the body, this is going to change those brain patterns. It's going to change the digestive patterns, how the body's functioning. And that's the big picture why when someone can start to get adjusted or start to get worked on, and within a month they start to notice not only is their pain going away, but their digestion's working better, they're sleeping better, they're breathing better. It's because it's changing those stress pathways back to ease and back to more relaxation. And so if you're looking at this, we're going to talk a lot about the thoughts today, but as time goes on, we're going to do classes more on the trauma stuff, getting rid of pain, helping the body here, and then more like cleansing, detoxes, purification for those things. Now, this is really the last slide when it comes to the seriousness of what stress does to our body. But there's a couple big buzzwords on here that people pay a lot of attention to these days, and it's all connected. So I was going to show you this real quick. But say one day something's going on and we have some stress. So the stress itself is going to push out these stress hormones. And so the stress hormones are here, and that can come from stress itself, what we're thinking. Stress hormones can come from inflammation in the body. And so as the stress comes through, there's something called cortisol steal syndrome. And you don't have to remember exactly what that's called, but I want you to think of that all hormones in the body are made from good fats. There's precursors to these fats that are going to turn either into good hormones for the buildup, like testosterone and estrogen. So many guys today are being diagnosed with low T and these low T centers coming up and things like that. One of the major precursors to this is long-term stress. No one's talking about how to build the stress glands back up or how to handle the stress. They're just talking about how to put a pellet or an injection or something into you to bring it back up. And if you talk to someone that's done this, they immediately feel better, immediately get their vitality back. But long term, that's not sustainable. So those people have to learn how to get the stress back and get their adrenals back up. But as this goes in, if cortisol is flushing out every day throughout the body, what is going to happen is it's literally going to steal those precursors, those hormones, or the hormone precursors away from estrogen and testosterone, and instead it's going to make cortisol. So it's literally going to steal it. So now the body's flooded with cortisol, which over time is going to increase fat throughout the body, as I mentioned. And then as this goes through and this process, which is very inflammatory, continues to happen, it's going to increase what's called C-reactive protein, which is one of the things you can test in your blood for how inflamed you are from the foods you're eating, from the environment, things of that nature, which is going to increase inflammation again and then create this cycle to continue. So this being the case, you see the brevity of this. This is something that happens every day, whether you want it to or not. And so we need to learn how to, and this is a journey, I'm not perfect, but with these things, learn how to help these things.